If someone asks you, what are the 5 qualities that define you, that make you you, would you be able to answer? Today, I'm going to walk you through an activity that I recently did that helps you connect to the qualities that guide how we lead, love, work, and grow. I'm going to walk you through my own process, my results, and I also want to invite you to craft your own version of this. Sound fun? Let's do this. Hi, y'all. I'm Danielle McHugh. I'm a professor, mom of 2 wild kiddos, and a recovering overachiever. Today, we're going to be talking about defining your 5. What are the qualities that you want to live by? So, recently, I picked up, it's called the Sprout Goal Setting Journal. I have my own goal setting journal. It's called Sense the Possibilities Planner and Journal. You're welcome to check that out at plangoplans.com/planners. But as somebody that really geeks out about these things, when I find something new, I like to try out all of these different goal planners, experience them for myself. I'm also a bit of a miner. In the sense that I like to mine different prompts that I hear people use. And I'm really sort of fascinated by prompts that really get us deep quickly, as well as prompts that invite me to actually want to journal. So I am not a natural journaler by nature. It's always been something that's been a little bit of a struggle for me. But I have found that if I have the right prompts, journaling comes a lot easier for me. And so I picked up this Sprout goal setting journal, and I'll make sure that I link that in my show notes as well as my own. And one of the activities that was at the very start of this was an exercise that is kind of composed of 3 different parts. So in the first part, you name 5 people that you admire. And then from there, you name out the qualities of those individuals. After that, there's a series of statements like, it is important to me to be, dot, dot, dot. And you rank these different statements on a scale of 1 to 5. I actually changed it to a scale of 1 to 10 because I needed the nuance in there. And then from there, you put it together to think about what your personal desired qualities are and how those link to what's important to you. And I thought that this was a really unique way of doing those activities. So I've seen the activity where you connect yourself to other people and their desired qualities before, but I hadn't sort of seen the way that it kind of moves you then into thinking about how do you want to embrace some of those qualities and how does that connect to who you want to be. And I thought that was really cool. And I went through this activity and I learned a lot and wanted to share it with you as well as kind of walk you through my process. So if this is something that you want to do, you can check out the Sprouted Journal. You can also take some notes as you listen to this podcast episode and do it yourself with just a pen and a notebook paper. So the initial question was actually really challenging to me. Like, who are some people that you admire? Because I could think of everyday people in my life that I admire strongly. But for the purposes of this activity, I was thinking around my business because it's still an identity that I'm moving into. So I've had this podcast for 2.5 years. I created Plan Go Plan as an LLC about 3 years ago. But, in my heart of hearts, I am a teacher. And so I wanted to think about who are leaders that I admire that mirrors a little bit of what I do. And so I was thinking about professors who are also thought leaders that are taking their intellectual property and finding ways to make it accessible, to make it relatable to the mass public. And for me, some of the people that emerged were Brene Brown, Adam Grant, Angela Duckworth, Ryan Holiday, Bregman, who I just recently came across his work, and I'll go into that in a minute. So it took me a little bit of time to even think about who it was that I wanted to name, because I could have named, Cal Newport or like Oliver Berkman's work. So it did take me a little bit of just figure out and narrow down my list of people that I admire. And like I said, I think that this activity would have been a little bit different had I chose people in my everyday life. So I could have chosen my mom, my husband and partner, Ryan. I could have chosen people that I work with that I really admire, like Kate Pelcheski or Kyle Reddick. And they're just, there were a lot of options there. But I kind of just decided to go with what I saw as really prominent thought leaders because I was curious to see if there were some overlaps in the qualities that I admired in them and what that would kind of result in doing this activity. So for those of you that aren't familiar, Brene Brown became really popular in, and I want to say the early 2000s for her work on vulnerability. She had a TEDx talk go viral on vulnerability and shame, and it just took off. And it's really interesting to me because prior to her becoming really well known and in the spotlight, she had a book called I Thought It Was Just Me that my mom had actually gifted me. And so she was writing and she was out there in the public actually before this TED talk really took off. It definitely was this TED talk that established her as a thought leader around vulnerability and shame. I really admire her work. She is a great storyteller. She's incredibly empathetic, but she's also bold and she stands firm on her values and her principles in a way that I really admire. Adam Grant is someone that I have maybe a more complex relationship with. One of my very favorite books of his is called Give and Take. He really introduces generosity as a key to people succeeding in life. I really, really, really love that book. I love the ethos of it. He's most recently kind of the book that has gotten him the most chatter is Think Again. He has really quippy social posts. Some of them I really agree with. Other times they rub me a little bit wrong. But one thing that I really do love about his work is his curiosity, his generosity. He is also a phenomenal storyteller and he's wildly optimistic. Angela Duckworth is someone whose work, her book Grit, really intrigued me when I first came upon it. And when I first read it, I really like her ambition. I like her focus. She's incredibly rigorous in the way that she brings research to life and to light for the public. And she does it with such incredible clarity. I've been fascinated with the concept of grit. I'm someone who is very anti-grind. And if you're new here, that might not be as clear to you, but if you're someone that's been listening, I'm very skeptical of sort of like this hustle grind culture. And yet at the same time, I'm incredibly ambitious. And so I've always been interested in like, what does it mean to, grit gently? And so Angela Duckworth, her work has always had an impact on me. Ryan Holiday is someone whose work I like as well. He studies the Stoics and Stoicism. I really like his 365 days of meditations. And that's something that I read in the mornings. My husband has done a lot of work around Stoicism and the Greeks as well. And so I think that I just find that really, really interesting. Holiday, I think, is just a master of translation. He's so good at taking text that would be boring and hard for many people to read, and he translates it in a way that makes it relevant and exciting and clear. So he's also an incredibly good storyteller. He also has what I would say is really like moral clarity. And then finally, Ricker Bregman, whose name I'm having a hard time pronouncing, is fairly new to me. I came across this book, Moral Ambition. He was actually interviewed by Adam Grant, and I found it to be a fascinating conversation where they were really kind of pushing each other on their ideas in a way that I found exciting. And one of the things that I find, I don't know that I fully agree with all of his arguments, but I find him to be an incredibly bold thinker. So when he starts his book, Moral Ambition, he tells a story of, them declaring that they had found the happiest man in the world, which was a monk who had spent basically all of what would be a normal person's working life. So hours upon hours, years upon years, meditating. And when they tested his brain, this monk's brain showed no reactivity where you would have negative thoughts. And so they declared him to be the happiest person. And Bregman sort of challenges this and says, well, what if this monk had spent all of that energy that went into meditation to actually changing other people's lives? So yeah, he's the happiest person in the world, but how has he actually impacted the lives of others? And I thought this was really intriguing. Now, of course, I I'm a little skeptical. I kind of wonder if that monk didn't change a lot of lives. That, in the time that the monk wasn't meditating, like what impact was he having on the people around him? And where was that trickling down in ways that we're unaware of? Or how many people have been inspired by his story and have taken up meditation and have been able to calm their nervous systems and connect with themselves and quiet their thoughts, And so, like, I don't know, I think that this idea that he did nothing but maybe make himself happy, I question the accuracy of that argument, but I do think that the question is intriguing. And so I really like how bold of a thinker that Bregman is. He's a disruptor while still being optimistic and incredibly accessible. And what I did is I spent some time really thinking through these people, and I chose some people whose work I'm incredibly familiar with, like Brene Brown or Ryan Holiday or even Adam Grant. And then some people whose work I'm not as familiar with, but I'm a little bit intrigued by. And from there, I did go through this list of, what's important to me. And then from there, revealed my 5 desired qualities. So, what emerged for me is that my 5 desired qualities are having an inviting presence, having playful depth, being a grounded storyteller, having catalytic clarity, and having embodied integrity. And these are connected to the different things that are important to me. So, having an inviting presence is really important to me loving my family, mentoring and coaching others. It's really important to me crafting and cultivating community. Having playful depth is really important to my own health and my health journey, as well as having adventure is something that I highly value. And I think that even as I engage in research, as I engage in teaching, even when I engage in serious topics, I like to do it from a space of curiosity and play. I love telling stories, and that was definitely something that I saw across all of the people that I admire is that they are phenomenal master storytellers. And for me, I really want to try to bridge scholarship with helping others. And I do that through storytelling. Catalytic clarity is one that emerged. I love learning. I want to continuously learn. I love mentoring and sharing what I learn with others. One thing that my brain loves to do is to create frameworks. So if you're familiar with the plan, goal, plan system, I have all sorts of frameworks from the RISE ritual method to my vision goal setting technique all the way to my grip goal breakdown method. I love to think in frameworks, and that helps me take kind of complex ideas and simplify them and make them relatable and usable. And finally, I think it's really important for me to embody what I teach. In fact, anytime that I'm feeling a little bit off, what I find is that I have strayed from some of the practices that I share with you all, that it's time for me to reset and to connect and make sure that I'm doing the things that I'm sharing with you, because to not do that is for me to be out of alignment and out of integrity. And so having embodied integrity is something that's really important to me. So I want to invite you all to think about, who do you admire? What qualities stand out in them? Which of these qualities do you weave into your own life? And to think about how your qualities can be a compass, not just for your goals, but how you show up every day, how you live, the decisions that you make. And I hope that this activity creates a few ahas for you. It can create some clarity for you. It was really reaffirming because as I move into 2026, I'm, on the brink of starting to think about next year already. But, as I think about who I'm becoming, I was really happy with the way that this activity illuminated the things that I feel are really important to me. And to be able to have some clarity around that and to be able to put some language to that was wildly empowering and liberating. So I hope that it does the same for you. Also, if you're interested in having me lead you through activities like this, September 26th from noon until 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're going to be having a virtual retreat where I'll be going over my plan, go plan your year. And we're going to be doing some activities that just help you connect, help you understand who you are, who you're becoming, and how your goals can aid you in that and how to make those goals come alive in your daily, weekly, and monthly practices. So, if that's something that you're interested in, I'd love to have you join us. And until next time, be bold, be balanced, and be well, friends.